Welcome back everyone to week 7 of the VPL. Today we've got Takako vs Karin, and this match has all the ingredients for a really swingy game. On Takako's side, the team is built around a mix of support and high impact breakers. We already know this team. Meowstic is a full utility Pokemon with Thunder Wave, dual screens and trick support, probably holding the light clay item. Ninetales with Drought and the option to go for Nasty Plot under Sun. Articuno as a bulky special attacker with the Freeze-Dry Hurricane combo that pressures a lot of common defensive cores. And Terra Ground with Terra Blast. Slitherwing as a strong physical breaker with Flare Blitz and Trailblaze for speed control. Serena provides grasp pressure, blocks priority moves and sometimes carries rapid spin. And Kyurem, which is one of the scariest wall breakers in the format and a key way to threaten bulkier teams or punish setup attempts. Overall, Takako's team wants to set the stage with Meowstic, slow things down with spamming Thunder Wave and screens, and let Ninetales, Articuno, Slitherwing or Kyurem punch holes once the match is in her control. On the other side, Karin comes in with a very structured bulky offense that we've seen before from her. Volcarona, which has been her go-to win condition across the last few matches with Quiver Dance. Superior as a fast utility option that can taunt and boost with Leaf Storm. Klefki as a hazard and paralysis support with spikes, thunder wave and dual screens, kinda similar to Meowstic. Hydreigon is a special wall breaker and a switch in to ground type attacks since it has levitate. Melodic is a flame up tank that can spread burns with Scald and it just sits on physical attackers. And King Gambit in the back as a powerful late game cleaner and general glue of the team. Gameplay wise, Karin's structure usually revolves around softening the opposing team with status, chip and hazards, then finding that one opening where Volcarona can come in, set up a Quiver Dance and try to take over the endgame. Takako, in contrast, wants to disrupt that plan very early, get screens up, spread paralysis with Meowstic and then force Karin to respond to threats like Articuno and Kyurem before they get out of hand. So going into this match, the key questions are: can Takako keep enough pressure and speed control on the field to stop Volcarona from ever setting up comfortably? And can Karin navigate around screens, paralysis and Kyurem long enough to reach a position where her usual win condition becomes realistic? With that framework in mind, let's jump into the battle. Karin leads with a Superior and Takako leads with her Meowstic, so we're probably gonna see Thunder Wave here. We do see Prankster boosted Thunder Wave and Karin gets out the taunt immediately. That makes Meowstic pretty much unusable because it only carries status moves from what we saw in the last matches. Articuno comes out, which is a very good switch into Superior. Karin doesn't want to stay in, however she probably predicts the Terra Ground here, which is why she uses Leaf Storm. But another Freeze-Dry will kill Superior. She switches into Hydreigon, which doesn't want to catch Freeze-Dry, so I don't really get why she does switch into Hydreigon here. Maybe she predicted the Terra Ground or something, I'm not sure. She gets hit by Hurricane and is confused. She got hit for over 50%, so if she is not able to attack here, which she isn't, she hits herself in confusion. We see Articuno using Freeze-Dry, killing Hydreigon. Milotic comes out, catches the Freeze-Dry, which does almost 50%, and this is not looking good for Karin. Another Freeze-Dry will probably kill Milotic, but Takako switches out into Serena. Karin can use this to recover, and if she's able to burn Serena here. That would be very strong. However, she switches into Klefki, which tanks the Petal Blizzard very good. And immediately Thunder Waves. That was a turn. She uses Spikes. Flare Blitz kills the Klefki. So there's one layer of spikes on Takako's side and Slitherwing is paralyzed. With Slitherwing being paralyzed, it cannot get burned by Scald, which is very good for Takako. She uses Trailblaze, so she gets +1 speed, and with that she doesn't really mind the paralyze anymore. Karin switches out into Volcarona. Takako switches out as well into Serena, and this is the window that gives Karin the ability to Quiver Dance probably. She uses Fiery Dance, so she goes into the offense immediately, and I don't think Articuno is slower and is not able to one-shot Volcarona anyways, so Takako sacrifices Articuno, goes out into Meowstic to paralyze Volcarona, which is very good. Karin uses Quiver Dance. Takako sets up Light Screen, so that's a good strategy against Volcarona. Volcarona's paralyzed, that means Meowstic can get out another attack. It gets out Reflect, and now it uses Trick to switch Heavy Duty Boots with Light Clay. But in the long run, I honestly don't see anything happening to Volcarona here. It's still at 100% HP. It's in the sun now, so Fiery Dance does even more damage. Will-O-Wisp doesn't do anything to Volcarona since it's a fire type and is paralyzed anyway, so Psychic almost takes down Ninetales. Solar Beam is resisted, so it does only 10%. Psychic is able to kill Ninetales, and I think that's a bug sweep. Kyurem doesn't stand a chance against Volcarona. Volcarona has boosted special defense, so the Earth Power doesn't really do anything. Takako would have to use a rock move here. She hard switches into Slitherwing, which catches a Fiery Dance and is obviously dead on arrival. And Serena doesn't have anything against Volcarona as well. Flame Body even activates, so Serena's pretty much useless now. And dies to Psychic. Kyurem switches in, takes spike damage, misses the Draco unfortunately. This was pretty much the last resort Takako had to get rid of Volcarona. Kyurem dies to Volcarona as well, and we know Meowstic doesn't carry any attacking moves. It only knows Light Screen, Reflect, Trick and Thunder Wave, which means that this is a dead Meowstic sooner or later. Okay, we see the Giga Drain, which brings Volcarona back to over 50% health, and with this, Karin won this match by sweeping with Volcarona. Takako opened with exactly the right idea. Use Meowstic to slow things down with Thunder Wave, put up screens and make it difficult for Karin to gain immediate momentum. Screens plus status gave her multiple safe switch-ins, especially into Articuno, which started applying pressure very early. Hydreigon went down quickly, Superior was heavily weakened, and Karin looked like she would struggle to keep control. But while all of that was happening, Karin was quietly putting her win condition into place. One layer of spike from Klefki, status spread from Melodic, and a few crucial chip damage turns added up, even without big numbers. As Takako switched frequently between Serena, Articuno and Slitherwing, she also took small but important chip damage from hazards and status. By mid-game, that cumulative wear meant her Bulkia Pokemon were just slightly out of position, and that is where the game flipped. Once Karin finally found a safe pivot into her late game threat, Takako's defensive core started to show cracks. Even though she managed to keep Volcarona in check with dual screens and paralysis, her team didn't have true damage output, and several of her Pokemon, especially Slitherwing and Serena, were already statused or chipped, so that everything was in range for Volcarona to kill. Karin's game plan, playing patiently for one setup window rather than forcing it too early, paid off, and the rough start transitioned into a dominating endgame because the long-term chip burn pressure and the hazard spreading slowly removed Takako's ability to deal with the threat that is boosted Volcarona. Takako's support plan was good and she set it up well, but without direct offensive pressure during screens, Karin had time to set up and commit to a late game win condition. This was a very clear example of structured long game planning, and sometimes all you need is one opening to sweep your opponent. This was Takako against Karin. Thank you guys so much for watching. There's one video left for week 7, and after that we're off to the second round.